what's wrong with Ari's car. Consider this the nose of Ari's car and the rear of Ari's car. When he goes into a corner, as he turns the car, instead of it turning this way, it's going this way right out to the wall. Now, you call that a push condition or understeer. Now, remember in the last stop, they did turn on the front wing. According to his crew chief, Bruce McCandless, they got to do some more wing turning next pit stop to get the looseness out. I mean, the push out.
Either that, Jack, or put a little bit more stagger in the tires would help it.
Gary?
Well, different kinds of problems for Eddie Cheever, who started inside in the second row, started fourth. He slipped back, and on the first stop had a problem on a spindle that cost him. He was very emotional, very upset, according to the crew on the radio. What they've tried to do with the second stop is get him calmed down. They're not too concerned, even though they slid all the way down to the 21st position, because they say we were running laps at 230 miles per hour. If he can get that in that rhythm, he may be able to get up through the field. Jerry?
51-year-old Johnny Parsons just stepped out of his 93 Lola. And, Johnny, it was a short day for you. What happened?
Unfortunately, something got in the radiator and cooked the engine, and that took us out. But, you know, the Electech Firestone car was just handling real good. We want to thank National City for getting on board at the last minute. Car felt good, Jerry. At the beginning, it was a little loose. So Billy Bignotti put a little more wicker on it, and I think we were right there, you know, staying on the same lap as the leaders. And that's not bad, you know, and I'm sure we would have had a good finish.
That's Johnny Parsons as Tony Stewart makes his way on the pit road, Paul.
Yep, still under the yellow, Tony Stewart coming down, Jack.
Well, remember, we heard the conversation with Larry Curry. They were going to bring him in 4 laps. This is a normal pit stop, the luxury of the caution. Now, what's great about this, guys, is you can be very certain about what you're doing. Make sure all the jobs are done completely. Now, listen to the car as it goes out. See how deliberate that sound is? They want to make sure that everything's absolutely perfect on the exit.
Let's all keep in mind, too, that the Menards have problems getting out of the pits, I'm sorry, and you can hear his not running as good like as the Cosworth might. They have problems because they run them really lean when they leave the pits.
So Tony Stewart tops off. We'll take a look at the full field rundown with Tony Stewart, the rookie, at the top of the field, and that's the entire rundown. That was after 53 laps. Now, we're under yellow, though. The field is now fairly well gathered up as you look through the entire 33-car list, with, of course, 4 cars now being listed out of the field. And we anticipate that pace car will be going back up to speed and heading for the pit shortly. Mike Groff has been reporting problems with his pop-off valve, and Johnny O'Connell came to a stop on the pit road as well during the last few minutes, and so we'll keep track of both of those for you. What about Eliseo Salazar? What a nice stop the first one was, Gary Gerald.
Second one, Paul, didn't go nearly as well, but they had the luxury of yellow flag conditions. Remember the first one at 12-2, terrific time. The second time he came in, Dick Simon, who's on the radio with Salazar, said, we're in the window, we're positioned, the car's working great. The only problem was stalled the engine this time on trying to get out. But with the yellow, he only slipped down on the pylon, Paul, to the number 8 position. So Salazar still very much a factor. Jerry?
Well, rookie Johnny O'Connell sits on pit road, Gary, with the engine cowling removed, and they've been trying to work over the car. Now Clayton Cunningham, who owns the car, talking with the crew. Let me get a quick comment from Clayton. Clayton, what is the problem with the car?
It appears to have stripped the fuel pump drive quill. It's a mechanical fuel pump inside the pump that's driven from the front of the motor, and there's a flexible shaft that drives it, and it appears to have stripped.
Any chance you can get it fixed?
No, you'd have to pull the engine out to get to it.
Okay, that's the sad news for rookie Johnny O'Connell. Paul?
Well, that is sad news as well. Johnny O'Connell with a major problem out of the run. Guy that worked so hard to get in here, came in here 3rd in the IRL points.
And then he struggled and didn't get out until the Monday of the second week. Fought to get some sponsorships, and he's working 12-hour days on the phone. Finally got out, and to have something like this happen, that's really frustrating, not only for him, but also his crew.
Those fuel pumps are down in the front of the engine where they have an awful lot of heat. Even though the alcohol, the methanol, as Jack mentioned, it cools everything off, they still have an awful lot of heat. Every time you shut them off, it's in a compressed area down there where the heat doesn't get dissipated. That often fries the fuel pumps a little bit.
Remember, too, that next year they're going to change the formula here for Indy. The turbochargers will be gone back to the normally aspirated engine. As they go green once again, Wayne Sweeney, the starter here in his 17th year, he'll retire after this. So we get a look at the leader of the race, Roberto Guerrero. There he is in the middle of the traffic, and looking back, Lyondike and Lazier battle for second place. Lyondike, for the moment, has it, but Lazier's got a little clear run off the corner. Lazier back into second. Lyondike to third. Tony Stewart is fourth in this run, and Stefan Gregoire is fifth, followed by Zampedri, Jones, and Salazar, but the battle is at second.
Well, that Lyondike really woke that Lazier up. That buddy really took off. They came to turn 2. It was a flat-out race, Paul.
I'll tell you what, Buddy Lazier made a great move there. He just didn't give up. And I think we see there, too, Bobby, how much grip this track has. He just hung right in there, went right around the corner with him, and never lost an inch.
The tires and the track, that's where all this speed, or most of this speed, has come from this year. And it's just fabulous. When you can see two cars that can run side by side, like those two did, Buddy Lazier and Lyondike, that's awesome here, Danny.
It was, and Bobby also on the outside, when they went in there, they were actually 3 abreast. There was a slower car that they were lapping. That was some pretty exciting racing going into turn 1 this early in the race.
So Tony Stewart has come up to try and challenge Arie Lyondike. They've been having to deal with traffic, but you saw at one point Stewart was almost alongside, almost past. Lyondike held him off. Now, here comes Stewart continuing to make the challenge.
Bobby, did you see how that slower car moved over there for Tony Stewart? I never seemed to get that when I was racing.
No, Danny, you always hope for it, but didn't have very often. But I think, no, he wasn't really going that fast. But I think what happens is these rookies, we've had so many of them this year, they've had more instruction than they used to have in our day.
59 laps complete. You ride on the front now of the fourth place car. Tony Stewart, the rookie pole sitter here. There is Buddy Lazier. He runs in second place, trying to run down the leader, Roberto Guerrero. 59 laps. That means we're well underway here. It started the day with rain at Indianapolis, but they got started a little bit late, but started nonetheless. And right now, the good news is the sky looks like it is clearing. Lyondike gets caught down low in turn 1. Stewart closes in on the back.
Well, I think I spoke too soon. That guy didn't move over Ferrari, and that was some pretty close racing. These guys are all having to go out there right now.
You know, it's very difficult for a guy being lapped here. I've only been that way a couple of times in my life at this racetrack, but you know, when you have fast cars in front of you and fast cars behind you and you're getting lapped, it's really difficult to watch both ends at one time.
Bobby, you got to be real careful. We got records on all your laps here, pal.
Yeah.
So now, as we continue to watch this battle, Gary Gerald has Michele Alboreto out of the race.
Michele, we know you had problems with the gearbox. Once you lost 6th gear, it just got progressively worse. What were the conditions like? Were you ever able to race fully effectively today?
Yes, unfortunately, I started quite well. I was in the first part of the race just to control the situation, and I lost the 6th gear after 15 laps, 20 laps. And then the gearbox became even worse and worse, and I lost all the gears now, so there is nothing to do. But the condition outside is very good. Everybody making a good job at the start, and everything is fine.
Thank you.
Continuing to track Arie Lyondike there in the box in the upper right-hand corner. That's Stefan Gregoire, was the fastest rookie when he came here. And he has had a nice run, started 13th up to 5th, but now obviously there's some serious trouble there.
I think what we ought to look at now, too, is that Arie and Tony have gotten through the traffic, and now we'll see who's got the speed, because they're out there pretty much by themselves, and we'll see how these guys shape up. Of course, there's Arie going through our screen right now, and Tony Stewart is right behind him.
But you know, I talked to Buddy Lazier last night before the sun went down, and Buddy was really not going to attempt or not going to put a lot of effort in trying to lead the race. He would like to run second or third, putting a lot more attention to winning the race rather than leading.
And as we check our Valvoline speed chart, we see the laps that Tony Stewart has been reeling off, and they have been very impressive. 232.9 for Arie Lyondike on the last lap. Roberto Guerrero, the leader in traffic, 224.8. Now, we saw Stefan Gregoire in the pits a few moments ago. Jerry Punch, what's his status?
Paul, it's a coil pack on top of the engine. Apparently one of the coils has melted. I just looked at the car a moment ago. It looks like there's been a fire on top of the engine. So much heat. The coil, both coils, as a matter of fact, have completely melted. I'll have to disassemble the coil pack, replace that, and it should be able to go back out.
On the last lap, Ari Lyondike at 232.9 miles an hour as he continues to chase Buddy Lazier.
Well, I guess that understeer that he was having and those adjustments they made in the pits, I guess they're getting it a little bit more right. Wouldn't you think, Bobby?
Yes, he definitely